we hear? We good? Can we hear? Okay. I may or may not pass out. If I do, just throw me outside. I'll be fine. Thanks for everyone for coming. I know it seems like we keep getting together lately for these kind of tragic events, so I just wanted to say thank you for everyone for coming. To both mourn and celebrate Drake's life. Everyone here has so many good memories with him, so thank you all for coming. Before we begin, if it's okay, just in case anybody forgot to kind of turn your cell phones off on silent, just in case those happen to go off. I wrote down a few things, sorry if I'm reading. Maybe I'll hold it up. It seems like lately our family has experienced so much loss on our side of the family in the last 60 days. But it seems like with the loss, we're also constantly reminded how close and how rallying our family can be when these kind of situations happen. It seems like we have a really great support system for Sammy and Andy and the girls, and so really thank you so much. It is really helpful knowing that when one person's not there, at least somebody else is, so thank you. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, sorry. To introduce, the program's going to kind of change a little bit. We're going to start off with an opening prayer from Michelle Hardman. Our family prayer is going to be moved to the end. We'll kind of explain that towards the end. We have Andrew Cole, who's going to be performing a couple songs that Drake liked throughout the service. And I'll just kind of come up in between and kind of introduce everybody, and we'll kind of go from there. I just wrote this down, so it might have some spelling errors in here. But it feels like we kind of take experiences on that life kind of throws at us, good, both happy and sad. And it kind of feels like these experiences kind of dictate how we then choose to go about and live our lives. And I think because the tragedy of the story, but the outpour of the public and the positive impact it was having. I was with a client of mine yesterday who works up at the Capitol, and she told me that the whole Capitol is conversing about this situation and what the state, on a state level and a law level, can do better to make these situations not happen at all to anybody. So the positive impact that is happening now is honestly amazing to watch. So I really thank you, everyone who's trying to drive some positive impact after this loss. Thank you. Yeah. So we'll have Michelle Hardman come up. I don't even know where she's sitting. And give an opening prayer, and then as soon as she sits down, we'll just have Andy come right up, and Andy's going to speak first about his little boy. So thank you for coming again.
Father in heaven, we gather today for one reason, and that is that we all share love for a precious boy, Drayke Hardman. We are so thankful for the time and the years that we got to spend with Drake and the impact that he had on our lives and the impact he is having now with everyone throughout the world. Please bless us to be a better people, to reach out more, to be there more, to love more, to be kind. Please bless those who are speaking today, that they may be able to share their message that they want to get out and that we may be able to take it and to also share it over and over again. Please bless us as we try to feel comfort. We ask a special blessing upon Andy and Sammy and Abby and Michelle. Let them know that they have an army behind them on this side of the veil and on the next. Please bless that we will continue Drayke's light and keep it shining. We love you so much, Drayke. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Did we get the paper sheets sent out so that you guys can get your paper airplanes made and thrown at me during this? Did that get done? I don't remember if we got that out or not. If not, we'll get that out later for when Sammy gets up here. First of all, it's too quiet in here for our boy, so maybe some kids can scream and yell or do something because it's Shaylee, if you want to run up and down the aisles, that'd be awesome. Okay. He was a rambunctious little dude, as most of you know. And he absolutely loved the world. I had the opportunity to write a poem for my brother who passed, and Logan obviously I'm sure would oblige, but I did some tweaks and made it so that it would fit my boy. And it was amazing how not many tweaks had to be made. They were both such amazing, amazing men. But it says, our boy, may your spirit soar in freedom from the fears that grip so tight. May you find the peace you searched for as you wander lost in the night. May your tortured soul, tortured mind be clear and calm, and your tender heart be warm. May you have no need for strength now. May there never be another storm. May the music of the heavens be the sweet sounds that you hear. As you're watching down upon us, may you never shed another tear. Drayke, my son, we'll wear your memory proudly until we see you again. As Stephen mentioned, this family is not new to pain and suffering, and I'd like to take you back to Drayke's childhood. When he was first born, his heart was racing 300 beats a minute. The doctors panicked. There was chaos. Sammy and I had no idea what was going on. They rushed him out of the room and into the ICU. Later, we learned that our son had a rare defect in his heart called Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. They pumped him with adenosine at the time, slowed his heart down. He didn't have another episode, just had some oxygen issues due to some of the problems that he faced. I think he was there about 2 weeks. And just as we were getting ready to bring him home, he had another episode where his heart was racing again. And so we were pretty hesitant to bring him home. But eventually, they taught us how to correct the issue. Now, this might be a little bit of a trigger for some of you, but for Drayke to be converted, now as a young baby, we had to take him to the hospital every time he'd have an episode, so that was 2 or 3 a week. As he got a little older, Sammy was able to convert him on her own. To convert our son, she would have to take an ice pack, just big enough to fit over his mouth and his cheeks, and suffocate him for 13 seconds. There's a vagal response that would allow his heart to reset itself. Now, I have no idea how a mom would do this. I was not strong enough at the time to handle those issues, but Sammy took it on. She was our rock dealing with it. We would get one shot, and if it didn't work, we had to call the paramedics because our equipment the hospital gave us wasn't enough to check his O2 levels. So the paramedics would come and hook him up, and it just so happened we lived in Magna, and it was a training center. So all the new paramedics and new police would show up as Sammy is suffocating her son for 13 seconds. As you can imagine, that was a shock to most of them. I think they tried to arrest her a few times. If that was unsuccessful on the second attempt, the paramedics would rush Drayke to the hospital where they would pump him full of adenosine. Now, the fear of this with a young child is that the heart, once it beats so fast for so long, it would get tired and eventually just stop. And for an adult, having Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, you can be resuscitated. For Drayke, there was no shot. If they couldn't correct his heart would eventually give out. And we had a few scary moments at that time where we weren't sure the adenosine would work or weren't sure we were able to get it stopped long enough, and his poor heart was getting tired. Well, the medication to help to correct this ended up causing VTAC, and VTAC is basically heart failure. And so at the age of 2 years old, our strong boy had a heart ablation. And at the time, he was the youngest that Utah's ever seen. They don't make catheters for babies, they make catheters for adults. This isn't something that's very common. They flew specialists from all over the country to come out to help assist as this boy was ablated. Drayke also had a deformity to his ribs, where the cartilage did not connect properly to his sternum, and it connected to his internal organs. So he had a severe deformity, a hole, basically, is what we called it, on the side of his ribs. So we went again, and we had another surgery to correct that. Drayke got an infection, got really sick. We had several problems with the draining tube and hospital stay, and Primary Children's had our name on speed dial. They knew us. They had a room for us ready to go. Our Michelle also gave us problems, and so did our Abby. As a child, she had grand mal seizures. Our Shaylee has severe asthma. We spent many, many nights, weeks, months in the hospital with her as she was on a continuous neb in the ICU. Why do I tell you all of this now? Why do I tell you all of our heartache? Well, let me just keep going before I answer that question. Recently, we had this sweet girl, her mom, and her dad, who died in a car accident. I won't lie to you. The first night I was in the hospital with Drayke, with this instance, I looked up and I cursed God. I cursed the world and the hate. Where was the love in this world? Where was the kindness? As I sat in bed and tried to sleep, the nightmares of the night that I performed compressions on my son to bring him back enough that we could say goodbye. Those nightmares haunt me every night. But one night, as I struggled through a cold sweat and a nightmare, I started to dream about my son laying on my lap watching a jazz game on the couch. And he began to tell me things that helped me to understand what was happening. Drayke was a believer that everything happens for a reason, and that nothing happens by chance or by luck. He believes that illness, love, lost moments of true greatness, and sheer stupidity all occur to test the limits of our souls. Without these great tests, life would be like a smoothly paved straight road to nowhere. Safe and comfortable, but dull and utterly pointless. So we had a rough road. It was not very smooth. But I know we were being prepared for something special. And as most of you have seen my post on Facebook, on Instagram, I was very angry that day, and I was very real with the situation that happened to my boy. But his love outweighed anything that could show hate in this world. Sometimes a person will come into your life, and you know right away that he was meant to be there, to serve some sort of purpose, to teach us a lesson, or help us figure out who we are or who we want to become. You never know who that person may be, but once you lock eyes with those baby blues, you know at that very moment that he would affect your life in some profound way. I'm going to give some advice and share something that is utmost important to me. If you find someone that loves you the way our boy loved his family, love them back unconditionally. Not only because that person loves you, but because they are teaching you to love and open your heart and eyes to little things. Make every single day count. Appreciate everything with that person that you possibly can. For you may never experience it again. Talk together as if you've never talked before. And actually listen. Let yourself love them. Break free and set your sights high. Hold your head up and smile because the world needs it. We know this happened for a reason. Maybe our boy was just meant to save one person. That we heard an amazing story Friday night of a young woman that was very much touched by Sammy's story. We had people flying from Florida, Venezuela, Arkansas. A gentleman gave me a hug and said he just wanted to take back Drake's strength to his school, his class. The Florida woman just wanted to hug Sammy so that she could feel Drake's love for her son who was struggling with bullying and suicidal thoughts. Listen to my words now. Preach kindness. Look inside yourself. Don't look at what everyone else is doing and worry about what they're doing in their life. What are you doing to better this world? I don't care what Karen's doing, or Steve, or whatever the equivalent of a Karen is. Sorry, Steve. I actually wrote that down to get a laugh. There's just too much out there right now that we're worrying about how other people look, how they dress, how they smell, what color their skin is, what they do for a living. We need to look inside ourselves and say, what am I doing to better the world today? We are the ones that are the bullies. We are the ones that are driving this hate. And my son is laying here today to tell you that message, to tell the world that message. And it is all your responsibility in this room and those that will see this recording to tell that story and help my son to become the legacy that he deserves. This kid had so much heart. I heard a story from the principal and in the office there, and I won't call out their names here, but they took us in and just loved us and loved our boy. They told us a story about our son, that he would stop at the front office every morning, throw his elbow on the counter and say, I hope you guys have a good day, or something to the equivalent of that every day. There was another story that I believe it was messaged to us, or one of the cards that we got from the school, of a girl there that's extraordinarily tall. As you know, my genetics don't make tall children. But Drayke, being teased for being small, teased for his crooked teeth, he did struggle with that. He did. But he also wanted others to not struggle. And this extraordinarily tall girl, who probably wasn't even that tall, but she did get teased. He would run up and tap her on the head and say, "You're so short." And she'd tap him back on the head, "And you're so tall." Children can teach us a lot about kindness, and they can teach us a lot about what we need to accomplish in our lives. I just want you all to know how much I love my son, and how much I love each and every one of you that touched my son's life, or touched my life. You're all loved so much. Drayke Andrew Hardman, I love you with all my heart, soul, and every fiber of my being. You are my boy, and you will live on through me, and you will live on through your sisters and your mom. You will forever be with us, no matter where we go. You will see through our eyes. You will feel through our fingers. You will step with our feet, and your heart will beat with ours. I love you all.
I think we might just need Andy up here the whole time. He's so good. I mean, I'll just go, you know. Next, we're going to have Shaylee and Abby, Drayke's sisters, come up and share some stories about Drayke. They're going to come up together. They're probably going to kind of rotate stories. And then as soon as they are done, we will have our first musical number, a song that Drayke loved and I've been listening to on repeat. It is the cutest song I've ever heard, called "I Built a Friend."
Maybe give a trigger warning, it is sad.
It is yes, it is. Yes, it is. But it's also a really beautiful song, so we're lucky to have it be able to be performed today. So, are you girls ready? Yeah? We'll just have one go first. And the other one's done next.
I'm just gonna present.
You two are really tall.
It's the heels. So me and Shaylee are Drayke's older sisters. If those who already know or who don't know, we decided to share some stories about our baby brother. We had to pick him though because
Where to start?
he's a very, those who do know him, he has a lot of sick humor jokes. But I got to experience a lot of his first in trouble things. I would always let him watch movies, like scary movies that my mom would always say no to. I took him to his first full contact haunted house, and he was always so scared because he was like, "I don't want to have a panic attack." But I took him in, I'm like, you're gonna be fine. They're gonna separate us, but you're gonna be fine. And he ended up telling me that was the best night of his life. He gave us the second biggest scare of our lives.
100th biggest scare in our
Okay. We went sledding when we had a snow day. And he went down a big hill with a big jump.
It's a big jump.
And for a couple minutes, we didn't see him come back up. We couldn't see him come up or come wobbling back up the hill. So we were nervous, so I sent Dakota.
Right there, like,
I sent Dakota down to go check on him. And Drayke thought it'd be so funny to pretend he got knocked out. So Dakota picked him up and he was limp. So he threw him over his shoulder and we ran, me and Shaylee are tumbling down the hill, turning into snowballs, just trying to get to him. And then we heard him start to cackle and laugh. and Dakota threw him on the ground, and he thought he was so funny.
Gotcha.
Yes. He loved family time. He was always begging me and Shaylee to let him have a movie night with us, and he'll end up falling asleep on our floor. He loved board games, but he was always so competitive, especially over categories. And he'd always come up with words that just didn't make sense all the time. Or, to those who knew him, knew his awkward dance moves, his awkward twerking. My mom would be at the Furbo, which is a little camera to say hi to our dogs, and Drake would be there, and he would hear her say something, and he'd walk up to the camera and just start twerking to her.
Anytime you videotape him, he comes down and then he just starts twerking. Like, what do I do with this video now? Do I keep it? Do I delete it?
He was such an innocent kid. He never swore. We tried.
$20.
$20.
Not enough.
He would never flip off anybody. He'd always do this. He was just all around a goofy kid. He didn't care. He wanted to make sure everybody was loved. He would always come into our room and he'd give me a hug or he'd kiss my arm. And he told me that he loved me. Even though I was the worst big sister ever for not letting him watch a certain movie that I won't say out loud.
It's very inappropriate.
It's a very inappropriate movie, and I didn't let him watch it, and he was so mad at me for it. But you want to say some stories?
Okay.
Okay.
There's a lot. I had a really special bond with that boy. I was the one that had the littlest conversations with him. I taught him how to swim, actually. He was so scared of the water, but he wanted to love it so much. So we went down to Desert Peaks, and I taught him how to swim. I taught him how to go underwater without plugging his nose. I taught him to jump off the diving board, and he was so excited. He always told me that if he ever jumped off the diving board, I had to record it, because if not, then there was no proof that he could actually swim. And I remember one time, just the last time I took him swimming, there was a really high dive. So tall. I'm afraid of heights. I can't do it. So I never did it, but he had the courage to climb it up the ladder, walk down to the edge, and jump off. And for watching him do that, I'm the one that screamed because I was like, he can't swim! But he did. He did good. Another thing, there's a lot, like I said, he loved pranks. He loved to slap me on the butt when I'm doing my makeup, or he'll like to go into corners, and if you're walking through, he'll scare you, and he did it all the time. So every time he did it, I just wanted to run down the hall and just slap him across the face. I did a couple times. What? Disappearing ink. The disappearing ink. He had a purple ink, and he would spray you, and we'd always think it was ink until it would disappear.
He would spray people at grocery stores.
He'd spray people in the backs of grocery stores. And my mom's like, "What are you doing?" We did a lot of escape rooms with him, and when we went to an escape room with Serial Killer one, and one of the clues was a doll. And those who don't know Drake, he can't stand dolls. Any doll he sees, he will either start crying or he'll run the other way. He hates dolls. So one of the clues was a doll, and there was a key inside the doll's head. So he had to take the doll off the wall, look behind it, freaking out because he did not want to touch this doll. And he sees the key, and he takes it, and he says, "I did it! I conquered my fears, and I grabbed the key out of this stupid doll." And we looked at him, and we were so confused, but we were so proud of him. Mother meds. Take your meds. That's what he would always say, too. Every time an alarm would go off, he'd go, "Oops, time for Mom's meds." Glad to embarrass you.
That's what he did best.
That's what he did best. Another thing was what I would call boy talk with me and Drake. I'm a girly girl, but when I'm with him, I don't care anything about girly things. I don't care about makeup. I don't care about anything. I want to pull my hair up, put on sweatpants, and go play basketball with him. Every time I took him to basketball practice, he would always want to talk to me about the littlest things, about girls, about his bullies, about anything. He just wanted to talk to me. And so everything he told me, I kept that secret, or I told him, I gave him advice. I was his big sister, and he was my pal. I remember the last conversation I had with him. And it was about a girl and the Valentine's Day dance that was on Monday. It was on Monday. And he told me that he could not find a date because he was so ugly. And I stopped the car in the middle of the road. And I looked at him because there was no one there. It was late at night. And I looked at him and I said, I'm a safe driver, I promise. I looked him in the eyes and I said, your baby blue eyes and those beautiful freckles that you forever have, you will get any girl in the world. Any girl you want, whether she's Latina, whether she's tall and blonde, and you're short and little, you will get every girl ever. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And another thing is, I'd like to talk to you about your car extended warranty. That was his favorite thing. He would call me and Abby in the middle of school, and we were scared that something would go wrong. And so we would say, what's up, bud? What's going on? And he would go, I wanted to talk to you about your extended warranty. And then hang up. I'm like, what the heck? I don't even know what happened. We couldn't be mad at him. It was so funny. And when he played Fortnite, don't get in the way of that kid. He will say the weirdest things with his really bad, really funny, but really, really weird jokes. And he would just start talking to people on Fortnite. And then he would come up to me and he said, I won. And I was like, what'd you place? He's like, 6th. It's not winning, buddy. It is with me. I'm like, okay, bud. But, one more. Sorry. I got a lot of stories. But one more story is, I took him to his first real haunted house. Not the one in Tooele, but his real haunted house. A one that everybody knows of. It's called Nightmare on 13th. A lot of people know, a lot of people go to it. It was just me and him. And I remember when we first left, he was so scared. He called my mom 100 times because my mom wasn't going to be there. And I got him his favorite drink in the whole world. I spoiled that kid. I got him candy. I got him chips, Takis, in that manner. I got him a slushie, and I got him a water. And probably another soda. I don't know. I got him a lot of stuff. But I gave him my phone, and I told him to pick all his favorite songs. So on my phone, it says Drake's playlist. And it is all of his favorite songs. It was the songs playing, too. We played it through the car ride, and it was a lot of fun. He cried first because he was scared, but after we got him to listen to his songs, he was screaming to the music, and he was screaming to Baby by Justin Bieber, because he loves that song, but at the same time, he doesn't like that song. And every time we would go through the haunted house, it was just me, him, and one of my old friends. And he was in front of us, so every time we'd walk through and he'd see the actors, he'd go, ah! I'd like to talk to you about your car extended warranty. Or he'd go, I like your shoes. He would just talk. He would talk to them because he wanted to be, not even the ghosts that didn't exist, that were plastic, he would want to be their friend because he didn't want to be scared. And so he was always so nervous to go through things, but we always made him go first too because I don't like haunted things. But I made him go first, and he would talk to them. And I remember he actually made one of the actors break character. He told one of the actors, I don't remember what he said, but he started flirting with her because he thought she was cute. She's like 30 years old. But she was so cute because she looked like a really cute fish. And yeah, it was so stupid. And she started breaking out. She broke out of character, and she had to actually walk away and leave the whole room blank just so she could cool off because she thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And I was so embarrassed. It was so stupid. Oops, I spilled water. And that same day, there's a lot to that day, on our way home, I had to go on the freeway. And I had just gotten my license not even 3 weeks before, and we got lost. We took a wrong turn, and we ended up making our way to, like, downtown Salt Lake, which is, like, normally where the place is, but we had taken 2 right turns and a left turn and then another right turn and made our way back to where we were. So Drake holds the GPS, and he says, "Where are you going? Why are you going this way?" And I said, "That's what the GPS says." And he's like, "No, it's not. The GPS said to turn left. You turned right twice." And so he was my coordinator. And I guess Abby has one more story.
Okay, to go along with Shaylee's prankster about him, he used to tell us jokes, and a lot of his jokes we're
Not allowed to say it.
not allowed to say because they're very morbid or they're just. But he liked "that's what she said" jokes, and he liked "your mom" jokes. So whenever I would say, "Bro, you're so stupid," he goes, "Your mom is stupid," and I'm like, "My mom is your mom," and he just sit there. He's like, "Shut up," and he walk away.
Your mom still.
But yes, dork is what we would all call him, is a little dork.
He's my pal, but he's still a loser. And
Me and
weirdo.
Shaylee are pretty
But,
mean
you know.
big sisters, but anyway, we're gonna give it back to Steven.
Too many memories.
Too many.
Good afternoon. This is a song by Alec Benjamin. I built a friend. Pieces of plastic and a pen. Made a mountain with it. Made a monster over a head. Boy. And his friends, heartaches on my house and left. Presents and stock and paper pots. Most of
Thank you, Andrew. Seems to be a common thread of stories tonight, and that is haunted houses. So I'm about to tell another one. If you've ever been to my partner and I's house during Halloween, it also turns into a full haunted house, inside and out. It takes a couple weeks to put up. It's kind of a nightmare. We had our family over this past Halloween, and Drake and Camden spent the whole night giving our neighborhood has a lot of new kids, a lot of new families that have moved into it. And they could kind of see what was going on from the street view, so we kind of invited them over to walk through our yard that got turned into a haunted house. And every time there was a new group, Camden and Drake escorted the new group through the haunted house to beginning to end, and they collected their payment of candy after each group. So glad we were able to provide that for him, I feel like. We also love Halloween. So our next speaker is someone who I can relate to on a level, and it's Lindsay Smith. It's his hairdresser. I'm also a hairdresser, if any of you did not know, and I know firsthand what people's hairdressers can be in their lives. We're kind of an era that people tell us things that they don't tell anybody else, and literally including therapy, and way more details than you ever want to know. And I at the time did not realize that Drake had such a great relationship with his hairdresser until Andy mentioned that she was going to be speaking today. It is a real thing for hairdressers to be able to impact not only people who you'd think that would spend time in a salon as an adult, but the impact that hairdressers also have on individuals like kids and everyone else. So our next speaker is Lindsay Smith. She's right here in front. She's going to tell some stories about Drake. And then right afterwards, Sammy's going to speak. So come on up, Lindsay.
Oh, wow. There are a lot of you that snuck in here. Great. Just grand. So I started my career as a hairdresser. However, I determined that I like men much better than I like women. So I started at a barbershop in Tooele. And I'm sure that there are a lot of you, I really thought I had it together, that are wondering, like, what the hell is Drake's barber doing speaking at his service? Because listen, what the hell am I doing here? But it comes very true to the fact that you spend so much time with someone and you hear all the things. I have heard more things behind the chair that I would never want to repeat or relive a day in my life. But if you've never had a good, consistent hairdresser or a barber or someone that you're able to confide to in all of it, it becomes less and less about the haircut and more so about the relationships that are built behind that chair. I can't even read what I wrote here, so this is going freaking awesome. And by the way, nobody look at my fiance because he hasn't had a haircut in a long time, so this is not a use of my skills here. He's the last to be taken care of. There's also this rule that most guys know that what happens in the barbershop stays in the barbershop. Now, before your wives are like, well, what in the hell is really going on when you go to the barber, and why are you going so frequently? It's nothing like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But I am going to hear about it. Like that time that Sandy and Amy, hi Sandy, that's your name now. Sammy and Abby went to Vegas, and Drake, they were walking down the strip, and I remember he told me this story, and he was so proud of himself. they're walking down the strip, and there are these showgirls. You know, everyone's been to Vegas. Everyone knows the girls I'm talking about. They got their whole butts out. And Drake, he's the little guy, you know. Eye level with their butts. And and Andy's telling me, yep, he turned around and he was like, yeah, this is great, Dad. I love Las Vegas, you know. This is great. Now, most guys, and I refer to everyone as guys, regardless of your gender. If you're in the barbershop, you're a guy. That's how it works. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. Now, most guys in the shop will always pass on a kid. Because let's be honest, it can be like corralling a wild bull. And you have to be 100% on your game because they have the attention span of Doug, the dog from Up. And I know this because me and Doug have the same attention span. We all see a squirrel and it's game over. So no one wants to cut up a kid. Now me, I love kids. And I love, like, maybe not little tiny kids, but I love kids in general. Like, if you're old enough to tell me what's going on in your life, I love it. Because they're 100% honest with you, and they're 100% honest with themselves. And they have yet to determine this skill of hiding who they really are to fit in and to just be somebody who they're not. They're always 100% who they are. And they will always tell you the truth. They will always tell you if they hate their haircut. They're always going to tell you if they can smell what you had for lunch on your breath. They will always let you know what they're thinking. And when I had the opportunity to meet Drake and get to know Drake, Drake is 100% that. 100% true to who he is and the poster child for just being himself and just, man, that kid, I tell you what. Now, some kids, they want to talk about Beyblades, which, I mean, I've been doing little boys' hair for a long time and I still have no idea what the hell those are. So, or they want to talk about Pokemon, and I love those kids because I can sit there and I can cut their hair. Oh yeah, bud, that's great. I love that. That's phenomenal. Yep. Oh, wow. Cool. I have no idea what in the hell they're even talking about. We're just going on about a haircut, just living our best lives, you know? Now, Drake is a kindred spirit, and we would talk about it all. First and foremost, he would sit in the chair, and it was always about how he wanted his haircut. I want it this way, and I want to try it this way, and I'm growing it out on the top, or I want it short on the top, and then automatically straight to bullshitting. That's the way it was right out of the gate. When he very first came in my chair, he still, as I'm sure a lot of you see, little boys, their hair grows all the way into their eyebrows. They don't even have a hairline yet. And Drake wanted a hard part so much. All of his friends, they all had pigment in their skin, and they all had pigment in their hair. And Drake, well, not so much. So I told him, I said, dude, if we give you a hard part, it's going to go all the way to your eyebrows. And then it's not going to be what you want it to be. So haircut after haircut. Can I get a hard part yet? No, Drake, you cannot get a hard part yet. You got to wait, pal. And one day, and I swear it was the same exact day that he sat in my chair, and I'm pretty sure he didn't even need a booster this time. So that was a win for him. Hard part it was. And we got him a hard part, and that was it. It was game over for him. He felt like he looked like $1 million. He got a hard part once. He gets a haircut like every 3 weeks. One time. And like I said, once we got the details out of the haircut out of the way, it was always just straight to bullshitting, you know. We talked about everything under the sun. We talked about the Hope Squad. And if you weren't lucky enough for Drake to talk to you about the Hope Squad, and that was something special. And Drake wanted to create a place in his school for all of his friends to feel loved and to feel wanted, and so that nobody had to feel what it felt like to be left out. And, you know, this isn't in my notes, but let's all be a member of the Hope Squad, you know? Let's all not leave anybody out and continue on. Anyways, squirrel, right? And we talked about school dances. And there was this girl last year that didn't want to go to a school dance with him. And I told him, I said, I'll go with you. You want me to go with you? I'll go to the school dance with you. I said, listen, this is the best part. Your mom doesn't even have to drive us. I'll drive us. You don't even got to worry about it. So a week before Drake left this earth, he came into the shop in his basketball shorts and his cowboy boots, just true Drake fashion. And he was telling me that there was a Valentine's dance coming up. And I said, listen, I know you think that I'm kidding you, but I'm not. I will go with you. I'll even take off my eyebrows, and nobody will even know that I'm 35. It'll be fine. It'll be great. Nobody will even have to know. And I'm still really pissed that he never took me up on that offer. So that's great. We talked about Carl and what a wild shit he was, and about his goals in basketball. And one time we even talked about me smuggling him cocaine back from Mexico. I know that some of you have to be thinking, what in the hell is Sammy and Andy doing bringing this kid to this lady that's talking to him about cocaine? And like I said, what happens in the barbershop stays there. So back to the cocaine discussion with the 12-year-old boy. He told me to bring him back something super weird, but I told him we were staying at a resort, and there's not a whole lot of weird shit going on at a resort. So I don't know what's happening. So, and especially because we went with my future in-laws, and they're not letting anything weird happen. They're just real straight and narrow. And there was never any more talk about any illegal substances from that point forward that I'm willing to divulge to you today. We talked about my wedding coming up this summer, and he offered to be my maid of honor. And when I told him that position was already filled, and he said, all right, I'll be the flower guy. And there was no taking no for an answer. So Drake was in wedding as the flower guy. Then came the day that he wouldn't let me take no for an answer, even if I had a choice. So there was this client in the shop that I worked at before I went out and did my own thing that had asked another barber in the shop to be his new baby's godfather. They had never hung out, spent time outside of the barbershop. But that was determined that Kevin was going to be this kid's godfather. And that family had the girls for a little while watch their daughters, and they were leaving one day, and they came across that little boy's mother. And all of a sudden, Kevin's wife, Erica, was petrified that she was going to be the godmother to this lady who did not look so great on the health side. So then it became this joke that I was Drake's godmother. And I didn't even have a choice. It wasn't one of those things where they say, hey, Lindsay, if something happens to me, would you want to take Drake? It was like, nope, listen, if we die, he's yours. You got to take him. Don't give him any cocaine or anything, but you got to take him and let him live his best life, And I remember when I came home and I told my fiance about this arrangement, he just gave me this look like, what in the hell do you do at work all day to get all these kids? Because I'm the lady, I want all the kids. Your kids are shit, bring them to me. I'll whip them right into shape. I have no problem with that. And from that moment forward, I was a part of this family. I was a part of the Hardman family, whether I wanted it or not. And I couldn't be more grateful for their love and support, and most of all, their friendship. Drake was sent to this earth to show us all how to love unconditionally. He was sent to teach us kindness, and even though all of our hearts are shattered into a million pieces, knowing that we won't hear another smart-ass joke or something that a 12-year-old boy should probably not even know what it is. His laugh, or to feel his amazing hugs, or to feel his little face raise them eyebrows at you when he knows that he just said something that he probably shouldn't have said. He's here in each and every one of us. He's here as a consistent reminder to help someone in need and to spread love and light in his memory and to help make the world a better place, because he's still here guiding each and every one of us to something greater than ourselves. And if we take anything away from this loss, it is that. It is to reach a helping hand to someone who is in need. It is to spread a little bit of kindness to somebody who might look a little sad in the grocery store. And they might think you're really weird, but that's okay. You probably are. I just hope that each one of us can take this away and help make the world a better place, because he is still here. And he is still guiding each and every one of us to become what the world needs to be. So there's this saying that we need to be the change that we wish to see in the world. And I believe that that's Drayke's mission in life. Thank you.
So I wrote bullet points. I don't even know where to start. As you've all have realized, I teach my kid to see the world for how it is. When I was little, when someone would ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I wanted to be a mom. Having lost my mom at such a young age, and the heartache and the memories and the first, even now, I knew my one mission in life I knew I could never fail at was being a mom. And I was blessed with 3 beautiful kids who all are so different. But of all 3 of them, Drayke was my best. My girls know that. He was my best kid. I'm a big Harry Potter fan, for those of you who don't know. And we all took the Harry Potter house. Which house do you belong in? Andy had taken it, and he was a Gryffindor. And Abby had taken it, and she was a Gryffindor. Michelle had taken it, and she's a Ravenclaw. And I took it, and I'm a Slytherin. And Drayke took it, and it only lets you, I think it only lets you take one, and then there's like knockoff sites that you can take. And Drayke took it, and he was a Gryffindor. Now he likes to manipulate the system. Like, that's how he works. And so he started taking different ones, and he would change his answers, because he's like, I could do this. I could be this person. I'm going to be a Slytherin like Mom. I'm like, buddy, your heart is way, way better than mine. And every time he took it, no matter how many times he changed the answers, he was always a Gryffindor. And he was so mad. But that's just, it's who he is. If you look at these pictures, every one of these pictures are a different part of his personality. In fact, there's one over there with him with a blue tongue, and we're like, we thought it was a blue sucker, and it's not, it's blue talkies. He was the only person that could make me laugh, make me angry, and make me so happy in 5 minutes. I would ask him to clean his room, and he'd come out of his room and, is your room clean, bud? Well, kinda. Go clean your room. So he'd go back in his room, and he'd come out 5 minutes later. Okay, is your room clean? Well, and it never was. And to the point where I'm like, you have to clean your room. I'll take all your stuff away. And after about 5 minutes, he'd come out and he'd be like, Mom. I'm like, what? And he's like, I just love you. Because he knew in that 5 minutes that he made me mad, that he could turn that around. And he did that with me on a daily basis. He would call me every day or text me every day to make sure I made it to work okay. I could be doing dishes, and he'd walk up and he'd kiss my arm. Or I'd be laying down and he'd come and just lay next to me and he'd kiss my leg. Like, he just loved. His love, Drake revolved around our family. His life revolved around us. Whether it be, Mom, can we just go get ice cream? Just us. Or Macy's rides with Miss Shaylee. Or all the Marvel movies he'd go to with his dad. And the late night talks he'd go in and, or just to color with Abby. Abby, can we color? He adapted himself to all of us. And because of that, this boy was our world. I told Andy and I were talking the other day, and I was sitting on one couch and he was sitting on the other, and we were just talking, and I said, you know, a lot of people, when they lose a kid, they lose them. And it ends with a period. For the 12 and a half years that we got Drake, he served his purpose here. And he showed the world what he needed to while he was here. And so his life truly pauses with a semicolon. Because now it is up to me and his dad and his sisters to finish his story. It is up to the rest of us to show the world the love, the absolute love that this little boy had to offer us. And I can't, like, if you could look up love in a dictionary and see a picture of somebody, like, Drake's all over it, like all over it. It didn't matter if it was at the swimming pool and there was a friend or a kid that needed a friend that didn't have anybody, or maybe he didn't, they just swam off for a second, but he would check on him. Or if we were at the mall or at Walmart, like, no, as long as he did not have invisible ink, we had to confiscate that every time we went to the grocery store. That, or I think he took stickers in one day, and people would walk by and he'd put things on them. And I'm like, you can't do that, bud. And he's like, but it'll make them laugh. And it's true. Like, I can't express the amount of joy and happiness that radiated through his baby blue eyes. If I could have kept them for myself, I would. And to the person that receives his eyes, I hope they see the world like he did. And I hope they love the way he did. As you can tell, Drake's life revolved around all things basketball. Everything. He would have wore basketball shorts to school every day if they didn't have a dress code. Don't get me wrong, he pushed his limits. He would wear basketball pants. And I'm like, bud, you can't wear that to school. He's like, I haven't got caught yet.
Mom, don't snitch.
His principal's right there.
his His principal is here. It's not anything that she doesn't already know. But his life was, it was always on the court. I had a little boy that came up to me the other day that I didn't even know lived in our apartment complex. And I was talking to him and he's like, you know, Drayke was my first friend here. And I was like, that doesn't surprise me. He's like, I met him on the basketball court. And he's like, man, he schools me in basketball. I almost broke my ankle. He's like, but when he heard of Drayke's passing, and he's like, I didn't believe it. I didn't think that it was him. And until around our area, it's all purple, and his name's on the ribbons. And he said he looked at the ribbon, and then he went home and he cried and he was angry. He said because Drayke was funny and he was nice and he was the most popular kid in the apartment complex, is what he called him. And I've learned that through the stories, through the viewings, through people that I'm meeting, that everybody's like, Drayke was my first friend. Well, bud, you were our first pal. I have a poem I'm going to try to read. It says, it's called Sun. It's sometimes hard to know why some things happen as they do. For so much joy and happiness was centered around you. It seems so hard to comprehend that you're no longer here, but all the happy memories will help to keep you near. You're thought about with pride, Son, with each mention of your name. Death cannot change a single thing. The love will still remain. This kid, knowing who his mom is, could have thrown people at me in handfuls, like in tens. But instead, he decided to throw the whole world at me. Because if he knows that if he can love them, then so can I. And I can teach kindness and tell people. I mean, I could stand up here for 5 hours and talk about him and all the stories that we've heard about him and the people the lives that he's touched. It's amazingly overwhelming, I guess you could say, that one little dude who wanted to be the shortest NBA player. He even researched the shortest NBA player, so he knew how tall that he didn't need to be, so that he could be the shortest. And I think I don't remember his name, but I think he was 5'3". And so Drayke's like, okay, well, I just need to make it to 5 feet. All of my kids, that was their goal in life, was to make it to 5 feet.
I win.
I win. I only had one make it there.
I win.
But even though Drayke was little, he was mighty, and he would stick up for anybody, and he wouldn't let anybody get him down. When people would tell him that he was so short in basketball, well, he's not so short when he's running circles around you, and that's what he would say, because he unlike his father, he doesn't talk crap on the court. Thankful he didn't get that genetic. To know Drayke's to love him. And if you were loved by him, you were loved hard. And you were loved with his whole being. He was my little love. He held a third of my heart. Navigating this new life without him is going to be hard, but he's here. And he better be in here if he wants me to take on the world. The one thing I know that he knows is that until he took his last breath, he was fiercely loved. He was our guy. And he'll forever be our guy.
Many of you don't know me, and I think I've had about 3 conversations with Andy and Sammy total. And first I'd like to say thank you so much for sharing your stories about Drake. And I didn't know Drake, but the stories that you guys tell me, I felt a lot of that I wished he was my friend. To be like we had a lot in common. My name is Destiny, and my friends joked and called me Des Tiny. And we'd always joke and stuff, but they call me Big, but my nickname was Des Tiny. And I also love haunted houses and talkies. I don't know what I'm about to read because I don't have really a lot of recollection from it yesterday. But I sat in a parking lot and I felt obligated to type something to find some sort of understanding of how I was feeling. So forgive me, I don't really know what I'm about to read. Thank you for allowing me this space, allowing me to join you in this sacred space. As some of you may know, I didn't know Drake personally. I never got to hear his laugh echo through a room, share funny faces with him, or any of his jokes, or feel the squeeze of his embrace. I did, however, feel Drake's essence ripple through to my core. On February 10th, I was 25 years old. I was at the end of my rope. My hands blistered and cut from hanging on so long. That type of hypothetical rope burn was the first of its kind my hands and heart had ever witnessed. I knew my hands and my heart were close to letting go when I was thinking about my parents. How would my sisters react? How would my best friend understand that I've tried hard to stay above water? Do I write letters to them all? I thought to myself, only to realize that it would take an eternity and my hands were already too weak to pick up a pencil.
I was scared, and my thoughts began to recycle through my head every few minutes. They were dark. After hours of building courage, I spoke up to one friend at work and said, I need someone in this building to know that I'm not okay. One friend quickly turned into another, and as I phoned some friends and my therapist, we discussed my options. After a long day and developing a safety plan, I decided to go home. My soul was tired, and I simply just wanted to rest. I didn't feel in that moment I needed to hurt myself anymore to make it stop. Because I was convinced that when I laid my head, the exhaustion itself would stop my heart. I didn't think I would wake the next day. Much to my surprise, I did. I'm not sure at what moment in this dark day that I saw Sammy's Instagram post, but I do know what I felt. I will share that with you in just a moment. I woke on Friday the 11th, one of the safe people I had told about my mental state. One person told the wrong person. Around 4 p.m., I received tormenting text messages from a number I didn't know. They stated, "So you think that taking a mental health day is gonna save you? When will you stop being the victim?" I was in shock at how cruel someone could be. Before I knew it, a friend of mine sent me money for a rental car to go to St. George. I had to have seen the Instagram posts of Drayke at least 20 times at this point. My own family and friends shared it on their story, and it was the main topic that I saw when I opened my phone. I met Drayke over and over again. I felt seen and heard. His hopelessness, confusion, exhaustion were all something I was well acquainted with. The courage it took for you to post that in your darkest moment was what sparked a light in mine. The perspective I gained was something I'll never forget. When I arrived to St. George and began feeling my way through my pain, I spoke to a friend about Drayke. I cried, speaking of his hands. I cried knowing that I was so close to it being my own family. I saw the true reality of what my choices could lead to if I walked away. My heart was so heavy in seeing Andy's blank stare and Drayke's sisters clinging to his body. It hurts me that I didn't have the opportunity to provide Drayke the perspective that he gifted me. I'm proof that it only takes one person, one post, or one text message to make a difference. I'm eternally thankful that Drayke was my one person. My 26th birthday was on February 16th, a few days ago. I wouldn't have seen my 26th birthday and helped my dad that day and ate Chick-fil-A had it not been for Drayke. To repay Drayke for the gift that he gave me, I feel obligated to remind you that your grief is not meant to be felt alone. Ask for the hugs that you need and hold on as long as you need. Provide the tissues and ugly cry together. There is not one place on earth that you have to cover up this pain. If you feel like Drake or I felt, I'd be honored to share the gift with you that he did with me. A cup of cocoa, a funny movie, a hug, or moral support. Drake needs you to remember that you are not alone. His essence is still woven into all of your lives. All you have to do is look. Thank you.
Sorry, I just kind of lost it just barely. It seriously was an honor to have you come and speak here.
just want to thank, first of all, the funeral home. Stark Funeral Home made this our home for the weekend, and we are so thankful for them. Beckett and Rob made this suit by looking at my Facebook posts to get my body shape and style off my weight and height. Fits. Thank you all so much for coming out here. We love you all so much. I can't even express to you how much we love you. Now go out and share that love with others. Delanne will give us the closing prayer.
I have to lighten the moment just a little bit. So we were here Friday night. We may not physically have Drake with us. Shaylee, you still have your baby brother? Did you not feel him running around as the kids were running around Friday?
I wanted to yell at him.
Okay, did you not feel that? I felt that the whole time we were here. We may not have him with us physically, but mentally. BJ, Marissa, Ignacio, Carlos, Diego, Laura and Jackie, you're up there. There now. Giving Drake big hugs for us. And Drake now has his grandma, who's never met him. She's now up there able to give him a big hug. And for you Harry Potter fans, they are now up there playing a nice game of Quidditch. They may not need broomsticks, they have their wings, they can fly. And Drake's leading them all. And they're trying to show Laura how to do this, and Laura is cheering them all on.
With the beer in her hand.
With the beer in her hand,
Tequila.
cheering them on and saying, let's go. Our dear eternal Heavenly Father, we come to the closing of these services for Drayke. Please know that we bless the family. Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for our family that we have, for the support that we have for one another to be able to get us through all this. Father, please help us to feel thy spirit and to be able to know that Drake and all our loved ones are still with us, that we can feel them wherever we are. Father, help us to be able to keep the why and the hate out of our lives, that we may be able to just feel the love that we had for our loved ones, that we may be able to know that they're still with us, that we may be able to share some of our experiences to our others, that we may be able to just give a person a hug or just smile at a person that's having a bad day. Father, we know everybody has bad days, but just watch over them and to help them to feel thy spirit. Father, please watch us over us as we travel home, that we may do so in safety. And we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Sorry, it might happen again. If everybody wants to come up and kind of say their last goodbyes, we're going to give the family a little personal time before they close out the afternoon. And thank you all for coming. And so sorry. Yeah, we all thank you for coming so much. So, yeah.
For those of you that want to stay for the family prayer, you're welcome. Those that don't want to stay, you're more than happy to leave. Can the family please gather up around the casket and have a family prayer?
Sorry, sorry. Let me move this out of the way. Sorry.
There are two that are out of town that need to get on an airplane, so if you guys need to go, take off. Okay? I'm Drake's grandpa. And oh heck, we've had so much fun with him this summer, making apple pie. We spent days with him down in Manti, got to spend some incredible time with him down there. Like it's been 7 days, touched all our lives in so many different ways. You know, I just lived a few houses from Drake when Andy was talking about all of the problems he got help with. Every time the ambulance in Magna would sound, if I was home, I'd bust out of that house and run over there. So was Steph, his grandma. And he's been with us a long time, 12 years. We never thought he'd even last 12 weeks for the sick and all the problems he had. If you join me now, if you bow your head, we'll offer family prayer. Our Heavenly Father, how grateful we are for the opportunity of having Drake in our lives. We're thankful, Father in heaven, for the experiences that we've had with him and his family. Father in heaven, we know that before this life he lived with thee as a spirit. And that there he was one of the noble and great spirits. And he was saved to come down upon this earth in these latter days. You know, Father in heaven, that because of his nobility there and the pre-existence, that he was able to come down here and influence all of our lives. And we know that he'll continue to influence lives. We ask that thy spirit might go forth, that this dark world that we live in might be a better place because of Drake and his life here upon this earth. The love that he shared with each one of us. We ask thee, Father in heaven, that his mom and dad might continue to feel that great love that he has for them, as well as his two sisters, Abby and Shay. We ask thee, Father in heaven, that thy spirit might be with all of our family and friends, to bless each one of us with all the blessings that we stand in need of. We're grateful for our Savior Jesus Christ and for the resurrection from the dead. And we know that Drake will rise again and be united with his family for eternity. We give you thanks, Father in heaven, for this gospel plan, for knowing that we're eternal families, knowing that we can see each other again. And Drake, we know we'll see you again. Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful for all we have and pray for those that travel this day, that they might travel home in safety and that they might be able to be united with their families. We're grateful for the sacrifices of so many that are here with us today. Ask you to bless them. Father in heaven, we give you thanks for all that we do, have, and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
He wants to be that annoying brother. Let him be the annoying brother.
She went to the bathroom.